everyone, and welcome to the Film Festival panel brought to you by the Brick Foundation. I hope that you have enjoyed any of the sessions that you've been able to attend so far today. And I know this one is going to be a really impressive session. I've been really looking forward to having this conversation. We have some really exciting panelists and our moderator today who are exceptional film festival programmers who have a lot of really great, interesting things to say. And I can't wait to dive in on how you can best leverage your film festival experience and what the landscape looks like now. I'm going to pass it over to our lovely moderator from the New Filmmakers LA, Boana Sandik. Off to you.
Thank you so much, Stacy. Really excited to dig into this panel. So I'm Boana Sandik. I'm the programming director at New Filmmakers Los Angeles, and we have a very exciting panel with us here today. I'm just going to quickly go around and have everybody introduce themselves and let us know what festivals they have worked with and which ones they're programming for, starting with Malene.
Hi, everyone. My name is Malene Khan. I'm a senior programmer of feature films at AFI Festivals.
Awesome. Celine?
Hi, everyone. My name is Celine Houston. I'm a programmer of both shorts and features at South by Southwest and shorts at Palm Springs.
Awesome. Daniel?
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel Soul, the programmer and co-founder of the Holly Shorts Film Festival, and also program our yearly monthly screenings as well.
Awesome. And Irene?
Welcome, everybody. I'm Irene, and I program for Outfest Fusion. It's the QT BIPOC Film Festival, and also I do shorts for the Sundance Film Festival.
Awesome. So we have a room full of programmers. And just to get started as kind of a little bit of a get to know you, we know that, programming is a mixture of, keeping in mind, what your audience likes, what might challenge them, and kind of what's catching your eye. But we also are human beings, and we bring our own individual tastes into the room as well. And so I just kind of wanted to know from each of you, what is the taste that you bring individually? Like, what are the things that you especially love? And is it easier for me to call on people, or do you guys just want to jump in? You can do this either way. I feel like that first one was it. So, okay. Malene.
Yeah, so I like to think that I love all kinds of films, whether it's an incredible story or it has no narrative at all. I mostly program, because AFI Fest has a very large world cinema component. So that's kind of where I'm focused, just kind of world film, kind of art film, indie film, all types.
Awesome. And Celine?
I'll say I'm kind of like Malene. I'd like to think that I have an open mind and I'm open to anything. But just because of the volume I consume, just fresh ideas, and because again of the volume I consume and I've been consuming for the past few years, I feel like underrepresented communities, since I haven't seen a lot of those films, potentially I'm looking for a little forward more than the regular white guy, But in general, I sure love white guy films too, so open to anything.
All right. Daniel?
Yeah, for us, with Holly Shorts, we have screened 10 days and 400 films or so. So, we're able to look for a wide range of films. But as they've mentioned already, you do want to see variety of storytelling, and you don't want to program much of the same. So when you're seeing numerous shorts, and of course our focus for us is short films that are focusing on the same stories or same sort of thematic in nature, the same sort of same tone. You want to kind of, as you watch so many, consume, as Celine said, so many films, you're watching thousands of films, you want to find something that really jumps out at you, that gets you excited. A variety, whether it's a different style of storytelling. We're looking for filmmakers and putting filmmakers on sort of a pedestal, saying, hey, these are the films you need to take a look at. We want to showcase films and give people a chance to get that, that spotlight on them. for us to say, okay, this is a yes and in the festival and accepted versus the no. There are various things that go into that, but yeah, we were looking for sort of variety of storytellers and variety of storytelling. You want to see things that are not the same and sort of mundane and things you've seen before, or are repetitive, or are trying to be something else. Sort of trying to be another filmmaker, taking page of some filmmaker and trying to imitate their style, and that doesn't really get us excited and work for us. So we're looking for those who, yeah, it doesn't matter about budget and all these things. It's really about what they're trying to tell with their story and how they execute that, and that impresses more than just saying, okay, wow, they spent a lot of money on this, or this has some great shots here and there. That's okay, that's great, but that's not, you know, the main objective, the main thing we're looking for.
And Irene.
With my work for Outfest, I have a real passion for LGBTQ cinema, LGBTQ plus cinema, and I also, I program for Sundance, so that's a variety of films that we have to review. But one of the things that I do like to do in my, personal curation work is Philippine cinema and also art house cinema, which I love very much.
Very cool. So kind of taking us deeper into the programming process, because I feel like folks have a lot of questions about this, especially filmmakers who are submitting to a lot of festivals. Kind of taking us deeper into that process, what do you consider when selecting films? What gets talked about in the programming room? And is the programming room kind of part of the way that your festivals are organized? But what considerations are brought up, and kind of what are some of the deciding factors for certain films, especially because we're all watching a high volume of things. There can be a lot of things that kind of overlap or are similar. There's patterns that emerge. Kind of what is that programming room kind of final decision like? I can mix it up and start with Irene this time.
One of the things that we really look at is length. We want to be able to include a lot of filmmakers into our program. So we don't think that there's an ideal length for shorts, but if it's longer than usual, it has to work for that length. And also, of course, fresh perspectives, that's so important. Certain themes come up and all the submissions that we see, but if it's the same take on a certain issue or narrative, that probably will not make it. So if it's interesting and something that we've never seen before, that's that'll really stand out. And actually, Sundance put out this online thing of some tips from from the programmers for potential filmmakers. So I'll put it on in the chat so people can visit it at another time.
Oh, awesome. Please do. Yeah, that sounds like it'd be really useful. Hey, and then Daniel, what about you?
Yeah. Well, 2 points. One, I'll go back to the what I mentioned on the runtime stuff. Because we get this question often. That's a common theme, especially with shorts, of course. What's too long? What's the sweet spot? And all these kind of things. And there is no one answer. There's no one sweet spot, in our opinion. But what I always say is, if your film is longer, say your film is 27 minutes versus a 12-minute short, yeah, there are less films of that length that are going to be programmed versus the films that are 12 minutes or so. Those are arbitrary numbers I made up. It's not sweet spot numbers. I'm just saying 12. I'm just making a comparison. So the shorter films will have more opportunity. We want to have more film showcase and more filmmakers to have that opportunity to attend in those kind of things and be a part of the community. So that's a factor in a program of 2 hours. Then you have, so if your movie's 30 minutes, there's only so many that have a chance to make it. So your margin changes. So now their margin for error is smaller. So I would always say the window or margin for error if a film is longer is essentially, for the most part, shorter than a film that is shorter in length. If it's 12 minutes, 13 minutes, you may have, if the film really hits, everyone really enjoys it, it's easier to just say, okay, yeah, we're going to program this. We love it, done. We know where this can go. This is great. It's a great horror short. This would be great for a Friday night. you know, a midnight score. Okay, great, we're done. Like we don't have to like deliberate too much. We feel good about it, and that's it. But if the film is 30 minutes long, and you have to have more considerations about how much of a time it takes in the program and these kind of things. So there is those factors to consider. That said, we've had films that are around 30 minutes that win the festival. They get in, they win the whole thing. They've won the grand jury. So, you know, it's not a like, oh, your film's long, you can't make it. So it's not the case. So I tell people, if your film does fit, if the time fits the film, then you should keep it as such. Don't cut for the sake of cutting. And then, yeah, as far as we program many different blocks based on genre. So we'll have some that are more general in theme and feel, some stuff sponsored. Maybe a sponsor wants to support, you know, SAG Indie likes to support filmmakers of color. So they want to have their program focused on that. So we'll say, okay, that block is put their name on it. They want to have filmmakers of color in their program and things like that. So they want to support those filmmakers. So the things that will go on among, you know, around that. But that said, like we do have a certain number of films we need to fill. Like, okay, we do need horror films. We do need a certain number of dramas and comedy, animation, documentary, etc. So we're looking at things based on, okay, we do need to fill programs for, so we only need so many. Now, within that, we're looking at now, okay, how many films do we need that fit certain programs? Are we good here, good there? We don't want to obviously program too fast and say, okay, we don't need any more horror films, we're done. And then we find a film that we watch again and it scored really well. I watch it, the reviewer said, you got to see this. I see it. I'm like, oh, I love this. Oh, I know where to put it. We don't want to have that scenario. So we still want to program based on what we love as well, not just think, oh, I have to fit a need. And if I don't, then everything else is boxed out and they can't make it in. So it gets tricky, but that is part of the process. It helps us guide a direction of like, okay, we're looking for these themes and these genres, and we do need so many films to fill in those spots.
Yeah, that all makes sense. Celine.
Sure. So first I'll say that for between shorts and features, it's completely different games. A feature is programmed on its own, and a short is programmed with a group. So the question of the zeitgeist creating trends is more complicated with shorts than with features, because shorts, especially if there are like thematic short blocks, you don't want to put twice the same film. So that's definitely something to take into account. And usually what I tell filmmakers, short filmmakers, I tell them to watch more shorts, because they feel like they're making something super original because they don't watch enough shorts. And lo and behold, 10 other shorts with the same exact theme were made the same year. So there's that. And I will say that the length, I'm against thinking that there's a recipe that you can follow to get into festivals. That I see a lot of films that follow those allegedly like recipe books, but it doesn't work. I'm sorry, but yeah, I think that's it for me.
All right. And Malene.
I'm in a room with a lot of short programmers, but length is less of a concern for us with features. Somehow last year we ended up with so many features that were over 2.5 hours long. I don't know how that happened, but it did become a bit of a scheduling conundrum. But we try to just program, you know, the features we love and work it out in the end. Just in terms of the programming room question that you asked, I do think that there is a bit of a misconception with kind of how that process works. A lot of people tend to think that we program based on consensus, that, you know, all of the programmers will come into a room and we'll just be like, yes, we all agree on this film, it's in the program. And it never, ever works that way. We're all just different people. We've, you know, watched different sets of films and have different life experiences. So we come into the room and we don't all have the same favorite films. So, you know, it's really important for that process to be, you know, respecting the opinions of the programmers that you're in the room with and just kind of hearing people out. There's many different reasons that we will program a film, but it does, you know, remain the same between shorts and features, that we watch just a massive quantity of films, and what we really want is something that is original, something that's doing something new, and you know, I think a lot of people, particularly newer filmmakers, will be copying films that they love without even really realizing it. So it is important, I think, to be watching as many films as you can if you're a filmmaker and you're trying to get in and be, have original ideas and get noticed. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've touched on the idea also of myths about how programming works and how films get programmed. And I think that there are kind of a lot of those in a lot of ways. I'm like, you have to know somebody, you have to have a distributor, kind of all of these kind of different myths. But the majority of filmmakers are going to be submitting in some way or at some point to some festival cold. And if you have one shot at a submission, and how can you, as a filmmaker, make your cold submission stand out in a sea of thousands of cold submissions? What can a director do to best represent themselves and for their work to stand out in terms of just how they go about that submission process? And I'm going to start with Celine on this one. What thoughts do you have?
I'll try to be as fair as possible. So truthfully, I want to watch everything blind. I don't necessarily know about the people for that reason. Because I mean, at this point, I've been in this game for a little bit and I have a lot of friends who make short films. So a lot of my friends send me their tracking numbers and everything. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want them to get in or like consider them, give them more of a chance than people that I don't know. So I honestly try not to read anything. I try to only judge the film on its own. The system at South by is pretty good because we only get the title of the film and the link. That's it. So we really get nothing else. And usually if we do research and we want to see who wrote this or that, like who directed it, usually it's not a good sign. It means that we feel icky about how it was, like the story was dealt with. But yeah, I try to watch everything cold. So I don't think there's much that they can do to stand out in terms of getting into the festival. But to me, standing out is just like, yeah, if you shoot a line, just keep it short. That's the thing, because we have so many films to watch. We don't have time to read your whole manifesto. So yeah, just a couple of lines, come up with something, be creative. You're a filmmaker, just write, I saw this short at this festival and I think mine is kind of similar. We're human beings as well. We love to be flattered. So just say that you saw a film that we had previously programmed that you really liked and that you feel that yours is similar. Or you can tell me that you saw me at karaoke one time. But I mean, yeah, just make it as personal as possible to stand out.
All right. It seems like some very good advice. Hop over to Irene next.
Regarding making yourself stand out, I would agree with Celine. The work has to speak for itself. Maybe on a more practical level, though, is a lot of film festivals are on Film Freeway. It would be a good thing if you did fill out all the categories that the film festival wants you to fill out. It helps in their whatever sort of programming that their issues that they're also trying to meet. So add pictures, add the filmmaker's picture too, or try and give the festival as much information about you. But as a programmer, yes, I don't look at the Film Freeway information. I watch the film first and then later on read everything else. But it's definitely better if there's some information about you, the film, the filmmakers, and all that.
Yeah, that makes sense. If they're asking for it, send it to them. Seems pretty solid. And let's hop over to Malene.
Yeah, I think I maybe have a bit of a different tack for how I choose what I'm going to watch, just because watching a feature film is maybe like a bit more of a commitment. So I do try to find, some sort of relationships, that I might have. Do I know this filmmaker? Do I know anyone who had worked on it? Do I know any of the festivals that it played? Is it a topic that is interesting to me? So like all of those things do matter. And I think, talking about how many films we watch, how important it is to get these things flagged, because oftentimes that information that could super, appeal to me is just buried somewhere in our database and I won't see it. So I do actually really like those cold emails because they, maybe I won't read your whole manifesto, but if I, see something in the subject line that's like, oh, that, is maybe a film I want to check out, then maybe I'll just like pull it up and I'll see what other people thought of it. And then maybe I'll put it in my queue. So, I think the misconception that people need to know a programmer is like, I have friends who send me their films as well. And I will watch my friends' films, but I also reject my friends' films all the time. So just knowing a filmmaker is not going to get your film in. It still has to stand up to, the rest of the program and the quality. So, but getting it watched is kind of the game, I think. So if you can, use those relationships, leverage those festivals that you already had selections at. Maybe you have a relationship with, for AFI, if you went to the conservatory, letting us know that, flagging it is really important for us.
Awesome. Okay. So we're also getting a picture here of like that not everybody and every festival operates the same way too. So there is a kind of a bit of a difference. And Daniel, like what's the case for you at HollyShorts?
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, there's both sides of it. There's Celine says, okay, just links and they keep it bare. We know the story of the past is Sundance, just DVD, and you couldn't put anything on it. It was just like blank, we are the opposite, I guess you could say, in a sense. I want to know as much as possible. I do like to look at, so my advice, I always say to anyone is like, listen, you're submitting to HollyShorts, your application should have as much information as possible. I want to do headshot, bio, all the different things, detail on the thing, any press kit, anything. If you're a student, of course, student ID, information on your thesis or not, all the different things. We want as much information on you as possible. Because you want to also feel like you want to like the film, but also feel connection with the filmmaker. Say, hey, I like where this person could be going. I want to support this person along with their film. It's all part of the sort of thing. It's like it's you want to make the film memorable. It needs to be memorable for us to program, but we also want to feel connection to the filmmaker as well. Say, hey, this is someone that could fit in our community. I don't know. It's part of the process to me. I feel like it is important. Now that said, you can just submit a film and have nothing on there. We love the film. We're like, wow, this is fantastic. I love this. We're not going to not program it based on, oh, they don't have a bio or something. We don't care about that. So I'm not here to say like it matters in the sense of like yes or no, but it helps to have more information in our side of things. We like to have all the details and fill all that stuff out. And also on the search side, as Irene mentioned, the Film Freeway, when we're searching stuff from the programming side, it helps a lot to be able to search a genre and look up a genre, sci-fi or this, or so if you just put in like one genre but don't put more, the search engine won't bring your film up when I'm looking for stuff. So the more that's in there, because we're always looking, it's a giant puzzle. We're looking for films. I'm looking over, I'm in Film Freeway for months on end, just like every day, 18 hours a day, just like watching films, looking up stuff. Okay, I have this block ID. Okay, I'm looking for this kind of film. Do I have this? So I'm typing any subgenre. And the more you have there listed, the better. So that's something that's definitely good to note, that when we're searching films, it helps to have your film come up as much as possible. Gives us another chance to look at stuff when we're looking for certain things and filling. Because for shorts, we're filling so many programs. Okay, we have 2-hour program here on Friday at 5 o'clock. I need another hour of this of XYZ. Okay, well now I'm looking that up to try to find how much time do I have and things like that based on all the films that score high enough to be watched for the third time in these things. So this is a part of that process. So that definitely helps. So the genre and listing your film out as detailed as possible and having a really thorough application helps. And then lastly, on the side of as Madeline was talking about with the emails, I like filmmakers to reach out, and they should reach out. Send an email to us. Try to reach out and just say, hey, and yeah, as Celine said, make it funny, something interesting, because we get a lot of emails just, hey, I want a waiver, watch my film. Like, well, no, we don't give waivers, and you can't just email me just watch your film just because you want me to. We have too many films to watch. In fairness to everyone else submitting, we're not doing that. So we're either not going to respond, or just say, hey, thanks, but no thanks, we can't do that. You have to submit here, and blah blah blah. But if you send something that's interesting, maybe a trailer's fine, and say, hey, look, take a look at this. This theme is this. It is like this film you programmed that shows me you're paying attention. Yes, you know our program, that you maybe attended. So yes, it is nice to flatter and say, hey, I've been at your festival, I like it, this and that. Who doesn't like to hear that? I mean, that's nice, right? So of course, that's always never a bad thing, right? That's good to hear. So that's cool. Now again, that's not going to make us like say, yeah, I got to put this film in or something. But at least you're in front of us. We're more aware. I could forward that to Nicole, Theo, everyone, say, hey, look at this email. Let's check out this film. Let's take an extra look. Maybe we'll watch it ourselves first before signing anyone. Like things like that. You're getting more eyeballs on the film possibly. So give yourself that chance. We don't reply or it didn't work, fine, but at least you're trying. Now that said, don't spam anyone. Don't send multiple emails. You send it once. We get filmmakers that send 5, 6 emails and just really harass about their submission before any selections have been made. And it's just unprofessional. It gets people turned off, and then go to Instagram and find someone's personal page. Hey, I sent you this email. That's not really cool. That's going to make us kind of stressed out. That makes me stressed out. I don't like it. So I'm not going to be happy about your submission. Now I'm thinking negative about you. So I'm not going to, so that's not good. So send one email, cool. Like, yeah, follow up maybe once. Like, that's great. We'll see it. That's all good. But I think everyone here agrees. People who send multiple, like really pushy, get aggressive about, like, that's not okay. And that's something to really be mindful of. Like, that's just going to turn people off. So doing social media stalking, and this is a little too much. You want to be aware, make people aware of you. We will see, like, okay, great. They tweeted about us. I see that they're tweeting, they're emailing. I see there's like an aggression, like they're into it. They're passionate. That's great, but don't take it too far. Now you turn that into, okay, we got it. This is a problem. This person's a problem. We've had that happen. People nag us so much about the selection to the point where I was like, well, as a principal, I don't want to program this person's film. I don't think this person should be in the festival. So it worked against them in a sense. So yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that is all very solid advice. And also all of you are kind of also pulling on this idea of like the ways that you can familiarize yourself with a festival as well, which I think is important in researching your festival run. See who you have connections to, who's programming work like yours, and kind of diving into that as well, or seeing what, associated institutions or festivals you might already have a connection with that you can sort of leverage in these communications to make them meaningful. And actually stand out to somebody. And it seems like we're also getting a picture of like that can come from a variety of different places. It can be a lot of different types of things that stand out to programmers. And then I think we've got about 10 minutes before we go to questions. But I know something that we all really wanted to talk about was talking about representation at festivals. And I think there are a lot of ideas about, how this is achieved. And then there's also misconceptions, and there's also a lot of pitfalls in terms of, optics versus actual meaningful change. So I just kind of wanted to get some thoughts from each of you about how those changes happen, and what does that look like in your experience programming. And also if you have some thoughts about what are the next conversations that we should be having at festivals and as programmers about deepening and creating lasting inclusion in the festival space, and not letting this be a momentary thing that we're focused on now, but really kind of making this a catalyst for more meaningful change. I know that's like a series of large questions. I know that you all have a lot to say about all of those things, but just kind of what are the things that stand out to you most in that? And we can start with Celine on this one.
Sure. I've really thought about this a lot, but in my opinion, when we communicate the percentage of representation of all the underrepresented communities of a program, and also have good numbers, because I think that at this point, if you don't have good numbers, you'll get crucified. It's pretty much putting a Band-Aid on a hemorrhage. It's useless. It really doesn't show where the industry is at. I think that festival lineup should be a reflection of where the industry is at. And I don't think that the industry is anywhere near 50-50% in terms of gender, where most festivals are. Most festivals are like 50-50. and the industry really isn't. The number of films, if the percentage of the lineup is really useless statistics to me. What's interesting is the percentage in the submissions. And in the submissions, we're definitely not at 50-50 in gender. And in terms of underrepresented communities, we're far, far from the what? It's 30% that's like kind of okay right now. And we're far below 30%. So I think that we should be looking at the numbers in the submission pool. And that should send a signal to the industry to start funding films from different communities that we don't see a lot. And I think that's where the problem is. The problem is at the source, at the making of the film, not at the end, what programmers can only do with what they're given.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's interesting because we are one snapshot of this whole ecosystem, and it's like where we are versus where everything else is, and it's like how much change can we galvanize versus what are we still seeing happening. I think that's like a really great kind of overview look of that. And next, Irene.
I spoke to this other panel, and one of the things that was mentioned is that, you know, the face of programming also has to diversify. And if the programming team does not reflect sort of what is going on in the larger world, then, you know, to some degree, the choice of films being chosen will also reflect that. So unless there is a commitment in the programming, in the higher ups of a film festival to commit to diversifying the programming team, not a lot of change is going to happen. So that's one thing. And also on the larger scale, also in the field of programming, we have to pay attention to being able to keep programmers in jobs. It's such a contract motivated situation, and so there's a lot of turnover, and unless you have a full-time job, it's you know, any kind of work that a programmer might be trying to do in a film festival, like, you know, create change, you know, if the work itself is not sustainable, well, then that all goes out the window, and then it has to start all over again with hopefully the next, you know, team of programmers. But yeah, definitely trying to create sort of a sustainable model for programmers to stay in their jobs and do the change that needs to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of all like at every level, it's having that change be reflected and having it actually be like as an organization to be representative. And as, you know, tastemakers, gatekeepers, you know, have you in that role, like that also is very important. And I think there's a lot of conversations that we could have about that. And I would, that seems like a whole separate panel, but that's definitely an important thing to touch on. And Daniel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so far some really great points, and brought up here by Irene and Celine. But yeah, I think it goes back to both things. I mean, especially, well, on our side, all we can control is what we can control to one degree, and which is who's watching the films, who's programming for us, what are we putting on the screen to show an audience, and why. And we can control that. Try to get that audience to watch these films. So our goal is sort of gatekeeper hate. I always bring up the spotlight thing. We're trying to spotlight on these films. These are the films we say you as an industry, you as an audience need to pay attention to. These are amazing. These filmmakers are incredible. This is, you know, again, with the short side, we don't like to say the filmmakers, the future things. There are a lot of filmmakers that are young and student filmmakers, but many that are very seasoned that are making shorts now. The landscape of shorts has changed. It's not just the idea of like film school film to give yourself a platform kind of thing. It's changed a lot. The business has changed. There's streaming. There's all these things. So it's not just that, but it is, you know, to a big degree, we're trying to shine a really great spotlight. The bigger the festival is, the bigger attention paid, better it is for the filmmaker, for everyone. So we can control that. We can say, okay, these are the films we need to show. We want to show them for these reasons. And these filmmakers now have a chance to really shine from that. and hopefully be seen, noticed, signed, whatever the case, whether it's sign with an agent, whether it's get their film distributed, whether it's now they're going to go on and get funded for their feature film. They have a feature film idea based on their short. They have all the materials. We're working now with the Epic Dread. We do a deal with them where we're trying to connect the shorts to the feature side and pitch material. If everyone has it ready, we'd set up meetings. We're working on these things to get opportunities to get the films made, to get another film made, to get more going. So it can be showcase and get your films made. The two things need to happen. You show more of these filmmakers' films, right? Then two, we're trying to find opportunity. Where can we find opportunity to get there? Because it's, again, short filmmaker, you're going to make another film. Whether it's for the short, whether it's you're trying to get into TV, whether you want to direct a feature, your own, you want to get signed and go on and get a deal and actually make a film with a studio, whatever the case, you're going to do more. Can we bridge those gaps? So we can show the films exhibit based on programming. Let's make sure our programmers and our reviewers are a wide range of people. Not like, hey, it's just myself and some buddies watching movies. I mean, yeah, I like our taste. I think I know films very well. I'm passionate about film. I've worked in the business a long time. All that's great, but it can't just be one person saying, hey, or just 2-3 people saying, this is it, this is what's good. That doesn't serve that purpose. You know, so that room needs to be diverse. So people can say, hey, this film speaks to me, this film needs to be shown, this is why. And you have that discussion, even if it's just via email or whatever, because again, we're not all sitting in a room every day. Like, you know, it's not like that, as Millie mentioned, like it's not like we just get together and have this big, you know, jury boardroom thing. That's not that process necessarily, but there is that discussion on email and phone calls and Zoom calls about what and why and what do we need to watch and make sure we put on and program for the audience. So that process needs to be had there. That has to be had there. And then, yeah, what opportunities can we give past that on the festival level to make sure there's, whether it's guaranteed meetings or just something that, you know, or financing deals or distribution deals, something that can help push forward past, okay, we showed the movie, got an audience, big screen, a lot of people, that's cool, it's great, party, fun, all that's cool. But what else can we offer at the festival? Panels, workshops, meetups, whatever can be done in a way that can now, from the selection process and having your film screened, push that filmmaker forward as well to the next steps.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, Malene.
I'm glad that the programming team stuff is being mentioned in this conversation, and I think I could spend 45 minutes just talking about that and about how just the difficulty of becoming a programmer itself. Like, there was an article recently in the LA Times, and it's just the privilege that you need to pursue this career path, and how the odds are so stacked against you. Thankfully, there's some new kind of, like, the Programmers of Color Collective is a really great recent group that came together to help programmers of color find programming jobs. But what I want to correct in this panel is, when we send out our notifications every year, when we send out surveys, we are constantly getting white male filmmakers who are upset at us because they see that their film wasn't programmed because we programmed a program that looks representative of the population. That is something that we want to do. And as Celine said, those are not often the films that come to you as a programmer. So what we have dedicated ourselves to doing is, the work to kind of get those submissions in, to find the gaps, to do all of, pull those, solicit those films from, those filmmakers, and to make sure that our program in the end does look representative of the population. So we do these kind of frequent check-ins, and we never program a film that we're unhappy with just to hit a quota. We love all of the films that we program. So, the one thing I do want to say to, those filmmakers who will complain is that this doesn't hurt white male filmmakers. It just means that your film, like all of the others, need to be strong enough to succeed in an equitable playing field. So, the industry is not equitable, but we have made the decision that we want our festival to look that way.
Very, very well said. And I think that that's kind of the perfect note to leave this section off on, and kind of a lot for everybody to think about. And I think we are going to go to audience questions now. And I am not sure, are we doing these through the chat, or are people raising their hands? anybody on the BRIC side know? But okay, how about if you have a question, if you could raise your hand in the Zoom interface, it should be on the bottom of the screen, and I'll just call on people who can ask questions.
So someone mentioned, they said the previous questions were in chat. That's what someone said in
Oh,
chat.
previous panels were in chat.
Someone said
Okay.
that. That's what
All right,
someone
thank
said.
you. Yes, okay, I just saw that. All right, so yeah, if you want to enter your questions into the chat, I can also go back and see what has been asked. We've had a very active chat. And I think some of them have been getting answered as we go. So let's see. Okay, so we have a question from, let's see. Yeah, Irene, you have been so active in answering people's questions. It's amazing. I'm like, which ones have we not hit yet? Let's see.
You know, I'm curious to know what our programmers think a good festival strategy is, because
Yeah.
I think that's one question I'm always asked. I'd like to know what others think.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we do get a lot of questions about strategy, and yeah, like anybody who wants to jump in from our panel, like what are your thoughts on festival strategy and planning a festival strategy?
I don't think that asking what a good strategy is the question, because I don't think there is a good or a bad one. Because before answering that question, there's another question first. What is your goal? Why do you want to go to festivals? What do you want to do with your short film? And I think that that's where it begins. Do you want a lot of people to see it? Do you want a lot of laurels? Do you want to, like, I don't know, get invited to cool festivals? And usually those are not the fancy ones. So it's just, what do you want to do with your film before, like, thinking if the strategy is good or bad is really like, what is the goal? What do you, now that the film is done, what next? What do you want to do with this film?
I think one thing is that filmmakers expect to like jump out of the bat with their first film and play Sundance, play Cannes. And I think it needs to be kind of acknowledged that a lot of filmmakers' paths to becoming known is a lot slower. And it's a lot more about kind of building your name and your relationships, as we discussed before, and just kind of, if like somebody mentioned in the chat, advice in regards to programming animated short films. Like, I'm not a short filmmaker, so maybe you all have more thoughts on that. But what I would say is, don't, be if, like, Sundance obviously plays amazing animated shorts, but you don't need to hit, that Sundance, festival as your first festival. Try to find the best animated festivals and apply really widely to animated festivals, because programmers who are looking to find the best animated films will look to those lineups and see who those filmmakers are. So, if you have a film that kind of appeals to a certain identity, find those identity-based film festivals. Find, your local regional film festival will probably have like a regional sidebar. And that, these are all things that kind of make the pool smaller from which you need to be selected from. And so that's how you kind of can build momentum in the industry.
Any
Can
more
I
thoughts?
just,
Oh, go ahead.
from what Malin's saying, I mean, totally true. Yes, you can attend, you can submit to Sundance, but just remember, especially for animation, we don't have a premiere requirement for short films. So your short can be screened in other festivals, and you can still submit to us, and we will still consider it. So get that experience, like Malin's saying.
Okay. And
Yeah.
Hannah?
Yeah, I was gonna jump in just quickly and just mention that, yeah, it's I think it is important to have at least well, strategy is important, right? Because there's so many festivals, the big, small, in between. There's some that are small but are really good, some that are small that are not good, some that are bigger they're not good, and some that are bigger that are good. So and then are you going to get into those? Do they want a film like yours? You know, we see stuff all the time that's submitted to festivals that don't, or they'll mention they didn't get into a certain festival. I'm like, yeah, well, if you look at their program, they don't like horror films XYZ festival. They just don't. Sometimes they just don't, whether it's just their taste or just they don't have a, they just don't like program them for whatever reason or whatever the case. They just don't like genre films. They're more narrative. They only show XYZ amount of films versus this fest says this many. You know, Aspen, Palm Springs, us, Holly Shorts, and others. There's a different number of how many films we can hit, how many days we screen once or twice, how many films we select. Some are in the 50s and hundreds, some are in multiple hundreds. So there's some focus on have animation focus, some do not at all. So so if you just submit blindly to a bunch of festivals just because it's on like the Oscar list, okay, cool. But then many of them are going to just look at your film. Okay, well, we don't like animation. We don't program animation. So then they'll take your submission and then just reject your film. You know, so if you're not paying attention to like where you're submitting, that's a problem. So it is good to have a strategy of knowing, okay, these festivals can highlight my film best. I'm going to submit to all these for sure, and figure out the rest of which ones should be worth hitting, whether it's looking at a movie maker list or just doing research on different festivals in parts of the world, whether it is based on the Oscar qualifying list and want to hit many of those or whatever for the reason of trying to qualify your film and all that, then that's fine. But there's just has to be a thought behind it, because it's going to add up to, you know, the minimum budget for a film we produce and submit out the stuff, we're spending $1,000 at least, if not more. So you're gonna spend a lot more, maybe a little less, but you're gonna spend some money. So don't just waste it. And then look into who can help you with strategy with the companies that do festival strategy and things like that, festival formula and those. You know, look into them and talk to them if you feel like you need help with that process, and they can work with you on that. And they know the festival landscape so well. So, you know, there just has to be a plan, not just let me just submit, or just submit to all the big names just because it's, you know, that's what everyone does. And yeah, it's hard to get into Sundance. It's hard to get in a lot of places. It's hard. It just is what it is, right? Your film could be awesome. Oscar winners get rejected by Sundance all the time. You know, this is just part of the process. It's hard. I mean, they only have so many films. It's a great festival with a lot of quality films from all over the world submitted, 12,000 plus. It's a lot of films. So, you know, it can't just be, oh, I have to focus on that. If I don't get into Sundance, I'm like done or something, like some defeat. Like, you know, I don't know. We've had films produced we submit just because we get rejected. I expected, like, I didn't expect to get in, so we just did it because. So we just submitted to Sunday. I wasn't thinking it was going to get in. I like our films, and no knock. Like, it's not going to probably happen. It's just part of the process.
No, absolutely. And it's a lot of good advice there for kind of not having your strategy hinge on any like one thing of like, oh, if I don't get into this festival, then my whole strategy falls apart. It's like having it be like, you know, multi-layered and taking a lot of things into account and what you're looking for out of that run too. Of, you know, what are you looking to? Are you looking for more industry connections, more networking with other filmmakers, and all of that. And on that note, we have a question in the chat from Emily, which is when it's festival time and your film is accepted, what is your advice for navigating the festival itself, and what are some helpful things to do once you're in the festival? Is there anybody who wants to kind of give a first answer to this?
I have something.
Okay. Irene, go. Yeah, go first.
You want to
Go, Irene, go. Yeah, go.
Please attend all the orientations as a filmmaker. Second, go to all the brunches and things that you get invited to. This is where you will meet people that you can establish relationships with for your future career. There are, you know, a lot of festivals have free events. Go to all of them. Really like soak everything in. Take care of yourself also. But if your body can take it, go to everything. It really will help you identify, you know, what you want to do with your career, and also what next steps that you might want to take.
I just want to say Irene is a party girl. She's telling you guys to go out and party.
No, last Sundance I went to 2 parties. That's it.
My thing, I always tell people, read. And it's pretty much, it goes back to the orientation. Read everything you're given, because all the information is in there. And yes, it is not necessarily a compelling read. It's not Harry Potter #8. But if you want to be aware of everything that's going on, you really got to read everything. And this is how you milk all the perks that the festival has for you. And also, like, once you're there, meet the programmers. The programmers are excited to meet you. So if you're shy, I don't know, take a Xanax, drink a shot, and go introduce yourself. Don't take a Xanax if medically it's bad for you, though, because then it's going to be my fault. But just go and introduce yourself, because the programmers definitely want to meet you. They programmed your film. They're super excited to meet you.
Yeah. No, I was like, thank you for saying that. I guess it drives Nicole nuts. She sends these emails. We put a lot of detail, a lot of information. It's all there. It's a lot to start. Yes, it is. It's a lot of information. Where to in the film, where to go, sign up sheet, form. We need your information, all the different things. We have all this stuff. We throw a lot at the beginning. It's a start, but it's all there. So then people come back with all these questions, and it's like, well, and Nicole's like, oh, I'm answering all these. She wants to answer every email, which is amazing, and she does a great job. And that's awesome. And that gives so we're responsive. But then I'm like, you got to get some sleep. You got to stop answering emails at 5 a.m. And like, I wake up on the East Coast and I text her, and you're still awake. Like, what the hell? It's 7 a.m. for me, 4 a.m. You're still up. I thought you were asleep already. So it's because the questions are being asked of stuff that's already, it's there. We're answering the question, but then they're sending emails. So yeah, read this stuff. Read this stuff. The information we send out has the information, has the stuff you will need to know. Please read it, because it's true. It's a lot of information sent, but people will skim over, and a lot of filmmakers just don't pay attention to it. They're like, oh, I'm just going to call and ask, but it's all there. So yeah, that's but yes, and attend especially all the functions, panels, seminars, workshops, parties. There's usually free drinks and food. We do a lot of work to put the stuff together. We want people there to enjoy the free food and free drinks. We like to party. We're originally from Miami. We grew up partying. That's what Theo and I did. So we have a party festive vibe at our festival. We like that. We like people getting together and really breaking out of the shell and just having a fun time together and networking, getting to know each other and creating that community. It's important to us. So if no one's there to do that, that sucks. We did all this work to lay it out. We want everyone there to take it in, and all the filmmakers enjoy what you've earned to get there. So enjoy it, take it in. The badge gets you into all the stuff. So we want everyone to be at the events as much as possible. So definitely try. Again, there's only so many. You get tired, you get worn out at festivals in 10 days, 7 days. You get exhausted if you go to every single party every single day. It's we can't even keep up anymore with our own stuff we're doing. So we can't go to our own parties. We used to go to every single thing. I'm like, nah, I can't do this anymore. I gotta sleep. But yeah, it's important to take it as much as possible and watch as many films as you can to get inspired. To watch films, watch shorts. It was mentioned before. Someone mentioned before earlier. Yeah, watch shorts. Watch as many shorts as you can. It's great to have access to see all these great films that are put together. Watch them, take them in. And I love seeing that when filmmakers say, yeah, I met this filmmaker and I want to go see their movie, and it's tomorrow, I'm gonna go check it out first. And so there's this connection going, and people are talking about, hey, go see my movie, and supporting each other. That's cool. That's what it's about. Love to see that happen. People talk about it that way, and filmmakers are telling us like, hey, I'm gonna go see this and that, and I met this filmmaker, I'm gonna go see their film. That's the best. It's great. And then do that. Take it in and get inspired by other films, because it's crazy when people say, oh, I'm just gonna watch my movie and go home and not watch anything else. Like, I don't know, like, you should watch more films. There's an opportunity to see films you maybe never seen before, something you never thought of, like just get inspired. It's just an opportunity to see more movies. You have a pass, take in movies, see them. We all, whether filmmakers, producers, in the business, we all love movies. Filmmakers obviously love movies, love storytelling. See as many movies as possible. Take that in as much as possible. It brings more value to what your pass gives you. So, naturally, we're all festivals here. We're going to say that, but it's true. So yeah.
Elaine.
Oh, I was gonna say the same thing about seeing films, and just to echo what all of these people have said here about being a part of the program, especially if we fly you out and we're putting you up. Like, we would love to see you at the festival. I think it shows an important kind of demonstration of your wanting to have a relationship with us as a festival, and we want to be able to continue the relationship and keep inviting you out and watching your film. So yeah, just to kind of be a part of it all is, I think, where you'll get the most out of it. Yeah, I think everything else was already said.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that was a good summation. And I think we are at time now. But thank you to all of our panelists. Thank you for joining us for this discussion. And it was just so fun kind of having this talk with you all. And thank you to our ASL interpreters who have been here the whole time working hard. We appreciate you being here. And everybody have a great rest of your Saturday. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.